Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the end of week 7 of the Pokemon Speedruns Draft League. My name is Roush, and this is going to be the weekly recap. And I got with me this week this guy.
Hello.
Hi.
It's Ro.
It's Ro. Cool.
This is Ro.
This is Ro. What does Ro do for a living?
I park cars.
That sounds infinitely more exciting than what I do. I park planes. Alright, so this is Ro, coach of the Broward Breilooms. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk about... Actually, I might need to adjust your mic. Go ahead and speak for a little bit, eh?
Yeah, no, I'm totally good with talking things over while we get ready with this weekly recap of
Yeah,
week
go ahead,
7.
go ahead.
What?
Show off the standings while I do some on the go.
Standings. I'm gonna have to find the page for that real quick, but until then,
Fantastic.
I'll talk briefly while trying not to click the
Okay.
back button because my push to talk is a back button on web pages.
Oh, you know what? I think I figured out my voice problem. So my voice activity meter was really bad.
Alright,
That's on
I
me.
currently have the page, so I can talk about that.
Alright, go ahead.
So, should we go top to bottom or bottom to top?
Your choice. Go ahead.
So, unfortunately, at the bottom, we have the Flavortown Flygons, led by Shape, with 1 win, 6 losses. Next to him is Major, who, unfortunately, as a spoiler, has left the league as of this week. He was 1 6, and we're looking for a replacement for that guy. Etiquette,
Yeah.
with the Basivid Log Whale Lords at 2 and 5. Just above him at number 11 is Amoeba with the Wolverhampton Waddlers, 2 and 5 as well. Sir Arendite with Kentucky Fried Crawdon, sitting at 2 and 5. Eternal Lore with the Bludgeoners at 3 and 4. New England Braviary with Scalvern, the recently added guy, competitive player and VGC player, he's pretty strong, sitting at 3 and 4 with a half-beaten roster, but he's looking to bring it back up over time. Then we've got Fades with Paris Saint-Germain with 3 and 4, followed by Drowls at Blackpool Blastoise team, sitting at 4 and 3. Myself on the Broward Breilooms, 5 and 2. Camden Cragnels, led by Gino Kirby, at 5 and 2 as well. Jimboomben Jigglypuffs by Battle Dolphin at 5 and 2, and number 2 is U Roush from the Huntsville Heat Trans at 6 and 1, losing only to me. And Caledonia Deerling, leading them is Garfield the Lightning at 7 and 0, the first guy to beat me.
So yeah, as you mentioned, he was the only guy to beat me so far in this league. So let's take a quick look at the team MVPs. And some things to note. We actually had a couple of turnovers in team MVPs this week. As you can see, Drawl's new MVP is going to be Clefable, bypassing Suicune this week. Unfortunately, that means that the 3 legendary beasts are no longer their respective team MVPs. Sad face. Also, Volcanion overtakes Tapu Koko for the MVP of the Broward Breilooms. I'm very proud that you've woke up and figured out that this thing's a beast, because
I always knew.
ever since week 3, Volcanion has been on fire, literally and figuratively. I think that is the only other. Did Galvantula just become MVP this week? I can't remember if he was before or not.
Galvantula's been kind of off the radar. I haven't been following Meeb's team very often, but I imagine Galvantula's only been picking off a few things here and there.
Yeah, I think Mega Heracross is new as well. I think, yeah, before it was Lapras. So Mega Heracross is, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and review the overall MVP race. So, top of the list is, this is not the top of the list. There's the top of the list. So, top of the list is Raikou. If you can't tell, he had one hell of a week. And is now sitting at a game score of 57, a full 14 points ahead of the next closest competitor, that is Kartana of the Camden Cryogonals, who has a game score of 43. Mega Scizor, moving just a little bit up this week. It did drop in the overall rankings, but I think it got a kill this week, has 39 points. Entei had a very nice week, moving into 4th place on the list, and as we mentioned, Clefable and Volcanion getting boosts this week as well. Other cool things to note, Jolteon continues to be a really nice pick for Garfield and the Camden Cryogonals, sitting there as his second in command. Swampert still at 15th. I like it. Ahead of Mega Swampert down at 19th. Regular Swampert is the best. Cool things to note for this week. Once again, Earthquake is showing that it is the best move in the game. Screw you, Stealth Rocks. Thunderbolt is the second best move in the game. We all know how powerful Bolt Beam and Edgequake combos are. Although, to be honest, you should be using Rock Slide because it's 95% accurate. Thank you. And then Fairy, offensive coverage being very good as well. Poison Toxic still being the best passive way to kill peoples. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and scroll down here a little bit. Move down to the 26th spot. And now we start seeing some kind of a different breed of Pokemon. Tauros had another great week this week. Tauros, since Garfield picked it up a couple weeks ago, has gotten 5 kills in the 2 matches that it's brought. And we're going to talk a little bit about Tauros later on because it had a beautiful match. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all we have to say about the MVP race. Other than that, nothing really special. Not a lot of interesting moves being popular this week. So we're going to go ahead and get into the matches, and we're going to go ahead and start with Ro versus RX Fades. So here we are on turn 5. This Mew is a nasty plot set up against this Mega Scizor that has yet to Mega Evolve, and here we go. So Ro switches out into Volcanion as Mega Scizor Mega Evolves. Scizor goes for the Roost, and then has to switch out against Volcanion, fearing the Flamethrower, but Ro is such a creative battler. What do you do?
Well, let's talk about this real quick. Can we pause right before the Solar Beam lands on this Slowbro's head and dunks him into the ground? Right there, pause.
Yeah.
So this entire match, I was fearing this moment because I had that power of Solar Beam in the back. I knew that Volcanion had literally free reign on this team, no matter what. The speed tier didn't matter. I can just run max special attack, max HP, and eventually I'd be in the position where I'd have an opportunity to kill Slowbro with Solar Beam. But I was worried that it would have to be like a long con, like I'd have to pretend I'm Specs or choice locked in some kind of way, so that when the moment came that I used Flamethrower on Slowbro, I could then bust out that Solar Beam and get the kill. But Fades was it was nowhere on his radar when this moment came. And so I didn't have to, he didn't go to the free switch of the Heatran or anything like that to take the Flash Fire. Instead, he went right to Slowbro, expecting it to be his full-time counter to Volcanion, and forgot that Solar Beam was a thing.
So yeah, that really... I'm gonna say it turned the tide of the match in Ro's favor. Because Volcanion goes on to pick up, 4 kills in the match? The first 4 kills. He picks off Heatran with Earth Power. He gets Mega Scizor and Tangrowth as well, correct?
And I whittled down that Whimsicott because I couldn't let it get a sub up.
No. So the Whimsicott ended up being a really nice set. It was Expert Belt, Substitute, U-Turn, Giga Drain Moonblast. But it was able to take on Donphan and really pressure Tapu Koko. Unfortunately, Fades didn't have the greatest prep. Ro, I'm going to contest, has one of the greatest preps, if not the best prep, in this entire league in terms of builds. Some of the most creative builds that I've seen. So I really expect to see you make it really far into playoffs, and I really wish you well. So next match we're going to get into is going to be Drawls versus Skalvern, the newly crowned coach of the New England Braviary, and his superior, who is unfortunately burned by a sleep-talking Suicune, who was allowed to get up to +6/+6. And the superior would have been perfect if he had brought it in earlier, because as he shows, he has Taunt. And Suicune is Leech Seeded as well. So Superior, and I think he was Leech Seeded by Celesteela, is what it was. But Superior is still 2-hit KO'd by Scald, and Suicune is still sitting in a very nice position. And because Suicune is set up all the way, Skullvern has to sack Lycanroc as well, using that Z Stone Edge, the Splinter Storm Shards, being able to... Didn't that clear rocks? Splintered Storm Shards? Isn't that supposed to clear hazards?
I have no idea. But
I thought it was supposed to clear hazards. Hold on. Yeah.
I'll look it up for you while we finish off this play.
Yeah, please do. But in the end, Suicune just dies right here to Diggersby's quick attack. So Suicune being allowed to get up so far really put a dent in Skullvern's team, especially with Skullvern being forced to use the Lycanroc's Z move, which could have been really useful against this removes terrain. Okay, so it moves terrain, not entry hazards. Something to note for the future. I had that wrong. But Diggersby picking up the quick attack, Suicune finally goes down, but not before a huge dent is put in Skullvern's team, and Clefable is able to stall out the entire rest of the team because Celesteela doesn't have Steel move in its arsenal, and this is a Magic Guard Clefable. As we saw, it didn't take damage from Stealth Rocks. So Draws ends up winning the match 4-0, something like that. No. 3-0? 2-0? Something like that. Draws wins. Next match is Geno Kirby versus Sir Erendite. The really defensive team plus Alakazam and Kieran Black versus Geno Kirby and his new form offense with Tapu Bulu and Sawsbuck. So Tapu Bulu being able to provide support for both Toxapex and Nidoking, now providing sort of an Earthquake resist. So Earthquake is now neutral, or resisted against his entire team. But it really doesn't matter if you just use Earth Power instead. But Toxapex goes for the block here and is actually forced to switch out, which means Claydol is no longer trapped. But unfortunately, Sir Erendite didn't know this fact, so Claydol stays in against Tapu Bulu, and on this turn, it's just going to get rickety wrecked by Leech Seed and a Wood Hammer, as the Tapu Bulu is able to outspeed Claydol. And that will take care of Claydol, which is unfortunate because Claydol was probably his best answer for Zygarde 50%. And even Toxapex as well. I think that was a rest set too, because he had Heal Bell on Umbreon, bringing a really cool combination that he's even brought earlier in the season. He put rest on Aggron and woke it up with Umbreon in the past. So getting a defensive team with good synergy is something that Sir Erendite's done a very good job of playing with, but unfortunately not knowing how the mechanics of block work really messed him up in this match. Any comments?
What's crazy is staying in on that ice beam was ballsy, and there was maybe a little bit of freedom to switch off, even to Aggron. Aggron probably the best switch, but even with rocks, Togekiss could have been a nice switch there.
Well, no. Well, what I'm saying is he didn't understand. Toxapex blocked him before.
Like, if he knew that he could switch, and then also still did that first Ice Beam play, like he's in a great position to go to Aggron there. And then,
unfortunately,
I'm not seeing a lot of resists to Heavy Slam plus Earthquake on the opposing team.
That's what Grassy Terrain was for.
Yeah.
So Grassy Terrain was still up, and I think he didn't bring Earthquake. I think he was Heavy Slam, Aqua Tail, Fire Punch.
That's even better coverage because nothing resists that except for Toxapex, of course.
Yeah, which was the big problem for Aggron. But Alakazam would have been really good too. I think it got picked off by another beautiful play on Geno's part. He brought Sucker Punch Nidoking, and Sucker Punch Nidoking was able to take out Alakazam before it could do a whole lot. So Geno ended up winning this match 1-0. I think it was another close match, if I am not mistaken. Let me double check that. Fairly certain it was 1-0. I need to get my battle notes. No, it was a 3-0. Okay, it was a 3-0. So yeah, that was that match. And then Roush versus Eternalor. So Raikou versus the entirety of Rain. This Raikou set was very, very good bring. It was Expert Belt 3 attacks with Substitute. And getting the sub up turn 1 versus Pelipper really enabled Raikou to 2-hit KO the entirety of Eternalor's team and just pick off something while still stalling out the Rain. But unfortunately, turn 1, the Shadow Ball crit Spadef drops Latias. If neither the critical hit nor the special defense drop happen, Raikou was unable to 2-hit KO the Latias because it Calm Minded, which, it would have stalled out the Rain a little bit more, but it also wouldn't have enabled it to, Raikou to keep a sub up to be able to KO that Mega Swampert. And then the Kingdra not being able to break through this Florges. I don't know if he had water coverage on this Kingdra or not. I'm assuming so, because Roush's team is really weak to water. His one resist wasn't even... he has 2 resists, sorry. One of them is Hydreigon, which he didn't bring this week, and his other one is Virizion, which was another offensive set.
And also loses to Ice Beam. Not loses, but...
It does lose to Ice Beam. It loses to Ice Beam. It gets 2-hit KO'd by Life Orb Kingdra. But just... Eternalor ends up sacking Kingdra here, as Florges just kills it. So with the Rain Sweepers gone, Raikou is able to just pick off each Mon one by one, and eventually wins the match. It turns into a 6-0. So once again, another 6-0 for Roush, as he sits with the best differential in the league, despite the fact that he has a loss compared to Garfield's 0 losses. Alright, and so the next match is supposed to be Etiquette versus Major, but as we said, Major actually dropped in this week. So once again, I did a makeup match, a differential match with Etiquette. And at this point, it's a Choice Bandit Snorlax that killed Haxorus turn 1. 3-hit KO'd Torkoal as Torkoal set up Stealth Rocks and just basically died because this is a max HP, thick fat Choice Bandit Snorlax, as I said. Shiftry Leaf Storm missed, and Snorlax is able to just KO it with a return, but unfortunately this is another instance of Etiquette kind of not understanding the competitive format, because this Heracross was able to just destroy Snorlax if he had just brought it in earlier, and he wouldn't have had to lose either his Torkoal or his Shiftry. And unfortunately, that's the only true kill that Etiquette picks up, because Doublade gets the last 3 kills. So something to note for this match is, because that was the only kill that Etiquette got, and Heracross was his best way of winning the match, Heracross ended up getting 5 forfeit kills. So that's why Heracross moved up in the MVP race, is because technically forfeits are indirect kills. So Heracross got a huge boost this week, and Etiquette picks up a 3-0 forfeit victory. Next match is Battle Dolphin versus Shape. Shape, once again, bringing Landorus, Ferrothorn, Typhlosion, Metagross, Sharpedo, and Lopunny for a, what's this, 6th straight week? Something like that. And it's Gliscor versus Metagross. Earthquake on the Shucka Berry, as Metagross goes for the Meteor Mash, and doesn't do a tremendous amount of damage. But this is kind of an unfortunate part where Shape reveals his Landorus set, and unfortunately he did have a bit of issue with the rules. As you can see, Porygon 2 traced the opposing Landorus' Sheer Force. This is in fact an illegal move, and Shape was forced to forfeit the match 4-0 because of it. So although it might not have mattered in the grand scheme of the match, Landorus Sheer Force is of course banned, Sheer Force Life Orb, as a very powerful combination, even though it only boosted, I think his only move that really affected it was Rock Slide. didn't really matter, but unfortunately the match has to end right there because of the rule infraction, and we're working better to make sure that the rules are clear and obvious to everyone for future weeks. Any notes?
Yeah, no, I have to say that despite this automatic forfeit win, Battle Dolphin's in such a great position here because Dog is at full health if he's banded or if he's life orb, any number of things. Outspeeds Landorus, outspeeds Metagross. Obviously can't live an Ice Punch, but it's hard to say. Maybe Audino Mega can 1v1 Lopunny if the other two are gone. So it looks like, despite the sheer force, Dolphin still has the advantage here.
Yeah. If it doesn't have, if Lopunny doesn't have Ice Punch, Gliscor also 1v1s it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and also, it doesn't kill. Well, it might kill Zydog with like a high jump kick or something, but
I think so. Zydoge is incredibly weak.
Yeah.
Because a neutral, what was I? 196 attack or 196 EV, Virizion, Z close combat one shot it.
But that makes
so
sense.
It's not.
That's 180 base power and all that.
Yeah,
jazz.
but it's a 90 base attack. Like that's the problem. Virizian's not powerful, but so we believe the match would have still ended in either a 3 or 4-0 in Dolphin's favor, but the rule infraction just caused the downfall. So Porygon 2 picked up the 3 forfeit kills in this match as a result. Last match is going to be Garfield versus Baffling Amoeba. This is runner-up for Play of the Week, in my opinion. This really cool Vaporeon set. As you can see, it's brought in on the Araquanid, which water moves are its best friend, but this Vaporeon uses that to its advantage as Garfield goes for the workup with Vaporeon and is then able to baton pass out into his MVP of the week. That is Tauros. That's right. We're talking about Caltrop, the king of Generation 1, Tauros, and it's able to clean up Amoeba's team with the combination of Rock Slide and Body Slam and Fire Blast. So, Tauros, awesome set, really good coverage moves. With the Sheer Force Life Orb, this is a okay combination. This is a legal combination for the draft format. And Garfield is able to win the 6-0 victory over Baffling Amoeba. Garfield just had a tremendously good team matchup versus Mono Bug, with the Entei and the Mega Diancie being very fast, very powerful Pokemon with beautiful stab moves that hit almost every single mon on Amoeba's team, which I'm still waiting for that Scarf Buzzwole, man. Bring the Scarf Buzzwole! That can put it so much work if you just brought it.
Still has that Miss Magius, which, despite having low defense, pretty much walls the entirety of Buzzwole's sets, especially if it's buff.
Oh yeah. But, I mean, I'm still waiting for it to be brought, because it's a...
Maybe one day.
Yes, I know. He's only brought it once this season. He's brought Volbeat twice.
Hey, Volbeat is, like, low-key one of my favorite support mons.
It's good.
Pass.
It's good. But, I mean, he hasn't really used his greatest asset, and I brought this up last week. Amoeba's greatest asset is his sticky webs. He's got 4 mons that can set up sticky webs. He's got Ariados, Galvantula, Araquanid, and Leavanny that can all set up the sticky webs, and getting that speed control would really improve the power of the likes of Mega Pinsir, especially. Because Mega Pinsir is pretty fast, but not the greatest at base 105. Having sticky webs would really improve its usefulness in matches. So, with all the matches being done, let's go ahead and get into the power rankings. So, we're going to go ahead and start off with the first place this week. We went ahead and elected to give it to the Caledonia Deerling. Once again, Garfield is undefeated this season, his team has done really well. He's brought a very good team pretty much every week. He's brought his matchup. Brought everything to his matchups really well. As you can see, of course, he's had a couple of closer matches against the Crawdaunt Fades and the Camden Cryogonals, and even Roe here managed to make it very close. But against the lower tier teams, as you can see, the Oakland Adaptability is on the bottom, which Garf beat 5-0, Pacific Log Whalelords 5-0, Wolverhampton Waddlers 6-0. So it's all teams that are at the lower end of the bracket that Garfield has done really well. But against the steeper competition, he's had a little bit of a struggle. He still managed to pull out victories, but it's a little bit of a struggle. Tell us about his team. What do you like? What do you not like?
So on the roster of Garfield, this is actually also an interesting. I don't know if you care for me to talk about my week 1 against Garfield.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Whatever you want.
At this team, previously, before he had Tauros and Sigalith, he had a team that was just very threatening. You have Deancy, which plays both. It just has like a really weird Endeavor set. I don't think he's ever used it, but it's a very strong lead of choice. It's also just a powerful sweeper in its own right with Rock Polish, Calm Mind, very solid move pool.
It gets Rock Polish?
It gets Rock Polish.
Shoot, I gotta keep that in mind. I face him next week.
Ooh, sorry,
wow.
Garfield.
Sorry. Spoiler alert. We're recording this in the middle of week 8. So next week is, for me, week 9. Go ahead.
But anyway, Jirachi, solid staple on any team with such a variety of sets. Entei, a good banded hitter. Crocodile also has a lot of versatility as a support mon, as well as a scarfer, or even just banded. Has access to Moxie, which can also be pretty threatening. I actually have a really fun Crocodile set that I've never been able to build around because Yu as a tier has too many counters to Crocodile, but it's Z-Snatch with Power Trip.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite sets.
Oh, yeah.
It's really strong because something like tries to set up a Calm Mind and all of a sudden your
plus
Power
2
Trip
attack.
does more than crunch.
Or is it plus 2 speed?
It's plus 2 speed, and then you steal the boosting move. It also steals recovery moves. But anyway, I'm not trying to give him any ideas. He's already got enough speed control.
Well, he doesn't have... It's not one of his Z users. He's got Dragonite Mismagius.
Thankfully.
Oh, he does have one Z switch left, but I wouldn't change it if I were him. He's got strong Z users.
Yeah, moving forward, Porion, very good staple as a defensive mon. Wish Passer, Heal Beller, helps him deal with the stall matchups, though I think that really only helps if like Dragonite gets burnt. For the most part, I think his team is really strong defensively. It doesn't have to worry too much about status outside of, like I said, burn. Then you got the powerhouse himself, Dragonite, especially with his Z move. This thing has been top of the charts in a lot of tiers for a long time, especially after it got that multi-scale buff in Gen 5.
Correct.
I want to say.
Yes.
And then actually what's interesting is I'm pretty sure Jolteon is his team's MVP. He's brought it every week and it's always gotten a lot of kills. Am I correct?
Entei is still the MVP.
Oh, MVP, yeah.
But Jolteon's a close second. Jolteon's a close second.
Yeah, he's been in every match and I've been kind of surprised by it, but Jolteon's kind of like a mini Raikou if you want to look at it that way. Better speed.
Jolteon, yeah, I was going to say Jolteon is, I would venture to call it a mini Coco. Because it's got that tier, it's got okay coverage. It doesn't... I'd argue that Jolteon...
It's not as much coverage as Coco, and it does have that same speed tier, but Coco's staple is, of course, having mixed options and, of course, that electric terrain, which is a free choice spec / choice band.
/ don't let me go to sleep.
And that sleep immunity. But Jolteon does have... I wonder if he's ever going to bring it. Like, Quick Feet Jolteon is a threat to my team more than Volt Absorb, because it outspeeds Lucha always. But I'm not going to talk about that too much. And then, of course, Roserade, another great defensive staple, kind of like Amoonguss of before Gen 5. It was like the Amoonguss of Gen 4, I guess you could say. Really interesting hazard setter with great offensive presence. And then Mismagius, of course, being Mismagius. Just
something to note about Roserade. Roserade, as the gens have gone on since Gen 4, Roserade's really been able to switch roles. It's becoming less and less of a lead type with spikes, and more of a wall breaker. and that 125 base special attack alongside powerful moves like Leaf Storm and Sludge Bomb really enable it to be.
Shock.
Don't give him any ideas. But
anyway,
it's his only Toxic Spike setter, so it's not like, well, I mean, it could be useful. Yeah. But Roserade is really becoming more of a sweeper type, and it's really threatening. Second on the list, we have the Huntsville Heatran. This is my team, and I feel like I'm out of focus. This is not in focus. That's not good. Go ahead and talk about my team while I try and fix this. I just realized.
For sure. When I look on this list normally, like Hydreigon and Mamoswine obviously makes sense. Very strong Pokemon. Arcanine, great defensive and offensive presence. Florges rounds off Arcanine's weaknesses. Not necessarily, there's no Earthquake immunity there, but between Arcanine's Intimidate and Florges' Special Bulk, usually they pair each other really well. But every time I read through this list, I'm just like not impressed. And then I get to the Raikou at the bottom. Raikou plus Hydreigon plus Mamoswine plus Arcanine plus Florges, like those 5 alone are the low-key core. Just covers so many options, so many bases, so many speed tiers, and it just hits everything. There's very little weakness when I see those main 5. And then you have options like Fortress or Swampert for defense. Got Virizion for another option as an offensive breaker. Beedrill with great speed, great spammable stab, and free U-turns as long as there's no Rocky Helmet users. And just overall, like, there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that are just really strong on paper. But as you may be aware of, it's how you put it into practice that really makes a difference.
It's stupid hard. It's really nerve-wracking to go into matches because ever since Ro destroyed Mamoswine turn 1, in fact, that was Mamoswine's the only time Mamoswine ever got to click a move, it died immediately. So despite the fact that Mamoswine has those 2 survivals, it's because it hasn't even been brought into those matches. I just kind of won before then. But the problem with this team is it's really difficult to use because it relies a lot on prediction and a lot on really guessing teams from the very start. And as you were listing all those Mons, unfortunately, kind of the oddball of the group. Actually, I kind of have 2 oddballs, Swellow and Kecleon. They're good Mons, but they don't fit as well with this team dynamic. Pretty much everything else gets to steal the spotlight. Swellow is very good as a kind of a revenge and sweeper type option, but there are so many better sweepers on this team. Like you said, Raikou, Beedrill as a potential sweeper type. Definitely put it in its place.
Near as I can tell, Beedrill and Raikou are pretty much your only win cons, you could say, for just straight up sweeping. I mean, I saw your arc. I don't know if that's a spoiler yet, but
it is.
I saw, yeah.
Sorry,
that
goes
match.
It goes out on Tuesday. It's now Sunday. Shh.
Well, that one, like, that was really funny to watch, but he could have prevented it. Anyway, so other than that, like, basically your only win cons as far as just setting up and having freedom to just wreck through a team pretty much lies only in Beedrill and Raikou. And so, in my opinion, with how I understand a lot of competitive, you're supporting Mons like Hydreigon and Mamoswine. They need to break those walls that come before Beedrill and Raikou, which, because they are both the physical and special side of essentially, breaking through teams.
Correct.
They just need that support to break through, a max special defense Blissey, or potentially a Toxapex. Those kind of things need to be weakened enough to the point that Beedrill can kill with a Drill Run at +2, or Raikou can clean up with a couple Calm Minds. Yeah. Those are the kind of things that you need to support to make them the strongest. And that can be tough.
It is. But what I really like is how versatile my defensive core is. Now,
absolutely.
low-key, Arcanine is the glue to my offensive cores.
100%.
Exactly. Because I have Florges, Fortress, Arcanine make up one potential core, and I could go either way on Arcanine with either Flash Fire to help give Fortress that little extra protection, or Intimidate to give Florges that little extra physical bulk that it doesn't really have. So I have that core, and then I have Hydreigon, Florges Fortress as a fairy dragon steel core. Hydreigon actually having pretty decent defenses if you decide to invest in them with 92, 90, 90. And then Swampert being weak to only grass.
Team player.
Yes, Swampert has been team player so far. I really like Swampert. I've brought it to every match so far. Unfortunately, I've kind of been forced to bring it to every match so far. But
I don't think that's an unfortunate thing. Swampert,
well,
having that, there's a lot of mons that get that extra grass knot coverage or HP grass.
Exactly.
And it can be scary. It's still
is.
just a matter of predicting your opponent.
Correct.
And expecting it, and that's where the risks can kind of come by.
Yeah.
Oh, let me
So
just quickly switch out to
my
predict this.
my one Mon loss against the Blackpool Blastoise was because he brought HP Grass, and I was kind of expecting it, but at the same time I didn't want to take a chance on it. So with how I'm gonna call it thin my defensive core is, because Fortress doesn't have the greatest special defense stat, Florges doesn't have the greatest defense stat. I need to be
Florges,
really careful if I want to try and tank hits.
That's a very important part, is Florges is almost entirely the only healing support you have on the team.
It is the only
Mons,
healing
except
support.
for Arcanine, can really heal themselves. Fortress has access to Pain Split. Swampert can go Curse Rest if you really wanted to invest.
No.
Rest is usually only used with Curse, but
Yeah.
Other than that, none of these Mons can heal themselves, so Fortress has to kind of be that extra wish support
Correct.
to make sure that Arcanine lives after rocks, or Fortress can get back to full before too long. And
But the good
even
thing
that,
is, I do
Fortress
have
pretty much only physical.
I do have great hazard control. So for the most part, I'm not
Exactly,
as
that's
concerned with hazards. Fortress, Swallow sometimes, Hydreigon sometimes, Florges definitely, and Mega Beedrill sometimes. Having Defog or Rapid Spin really enables me to keep my team alive. Okay, so next off we have the Jimboob Jigglypuffs with Terrakion, Rotom Wash, Porygon 2, Zygarde 10%, Quillfish, Jigglypuff, Mega Audino, Excadrill, Primarina, or Primarina. I think it's Primarina. I'd like to think of it as, because Prima Donna.
Prima Donna.
Yeah. The primary... Shoot. Diva? I can't remember what they call the operetta singers. Xurkitree and Gliscor. This team, on paper, is kind of lacking in depth, but obviously he's made it work out so far. Only losses to me, the Heatran, and then Mizzlesticks' New England Braviary, and of course picking up wins against the Blackpool Blastoise and you.
I'm going to be a little bold here and say the only thing that this team is lacking, and he does have Excadrill, the only thing this team is lacking is a solid defensive steel type, because between Gliscor, Rotom Wash, Porygon 2, and the fattest Audino out there, with some reasonably bulky Mons in Primarina, Excadrill's very bulky, and Quillfish has that Intimidate support. There's a lot that this team can do, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is like a inferior version of Sir Arendite's team. And it's weird to say that because Sir Arendite is much lower on the tiers, on the rankings.
Oh yeah.
Battle Dolphin, but Sir Arendite's team has an amazing defensive core with 2 to 3 solid breakers that he can swap out at any time.
Oh yeah.
To fill his need. And
Yeah.
so this team has that same situation with Terrakion, Zygarde, and Primarina / Xurkitree / Excadrill.
I think they
with
even
a
share
very
similar
solid
speed
blue.
tiers too. That's now looking at it, they do share similar speed tiers. Like Zygarde 10% compares to Alakazam being only 5 base speed apart. Gliscor comparing with
I'm just gonna
friggin-
say it. Their teams are very similar.
Yeah, they
in
are.
play style.
Yeah, but one person is able to take advantage of it a lot more, and that's why
That's where the
Battle
coaches
Dolphin
come in.
is so much higher up. Also, the creativity of his sets, especially with Z, Shockwave, Zygarde last week, and then Natural Gift Quillfish. Just adding this extra depth that Battle Dolphin is able to take such a defensive team and turn it into such an offensive force, which is really interesting if you think about it. Because if you look at his team stats, I think his average stats are really dragged down by this motherfucker right here, which I don't know why he has it. I mean, I know why, but drop it already, you ding-dong. It's stupid. That's it. It's not getting a kill. He promised me when he drafted it, he was going to get a kill with Jigglypuff. I told him, you're not going to get a kill with Jigglypuff. So throw your dream out the window right now. It's time to be real. I know you've won every match that you've... No, actually, no, you lost one of the matches. Did he bring it to you?
No.
Okay, so he might have brought it against Mizzle. Yeah, take a look. That -1, you could have used an actual mon and gotten a win out of it. But it's a very, as Rose said, it's a very good defensive team. A very interesting stall type team.
Very hard to break, but it's lacking the steal department because
and it
even
also,
though Excadrill is there, it's not meant to take hits unless it's fully invested in HP and leftovers.
No.
And even then, that's not reliable.
Excadrill is
like Fortress and Ferrothorn.
Excadrill is out of the same light that I think of Raikou. Decent defensive typing, but for the love of God, it's not a resist.
Exactly. Can only do so much.
Exactly. So now we're gonna get to Ro's team, as he's sitting at 4th, and I'm just gonna let you take the entire thing. What do you like? What do you hate about your team?
Right now, the only thing I hate is that I have a mandatory 3/4 Mon core for every matchup. And that makes it very limiting, in my experience, for the final 2 slots to come in. I'm always going to be bringing it Coco and Hawlucha. That's a fact. Mostly because I'm just gonna come out and say it. The way I play Hawlucha and Coco is I'm waiting to build my win con. I'm waiting to make sure that Hawlucha, when he pops that Electric Seed, he's ready to sweep through the enemy team, and I do not have to lose him from there on out. That's my goal with almost every match. And so I have a lot of freedom in my other 4 Mons to weaken the counters, get that extra damage somewhere here or there, or prepare myself for, you know, a Volt Switch or a U-turn right into Hawlucha where he gets that seed, gets that +2, and then starts to wreck. He has a really good move pool on top of that. Most fairy types or psychic types, ghost types even actually have a problem with him because he has access to Throat Chop. He can do Iron Head as well as Poison Jab, depending on how he wants to go with it. I usually go with Iron Head because flinches make the difference, and that's actually relevant to one of the matches I shouldn't have won. Getting a flinch on a Togekiss with a Babiri Berry.
Yeah.
Although it's interesting, if I ran Poison Jab, I would have just killed him outright, but then that also changed, you know, a lot of other things. Regardless.
I don't think so. How much did Babiri Berry do? Did it still do 60%?
It does 60%.
Yeah, okay.
Through Babiri. After,
yeah.
It does 60 before Babiri, so... Oh yeah, Poison Jab wouldn't have killed. No.
No, it would have killed. It did 60 after, as he popped the Babiri Berry.
Yeah, either way. So, long story short, I'm forced to run Hawlucha as basically, I like to also think of it as a last resort, as a guaranteed check for most circumstances. If there's some kind of Earthquake Sweeper coming through, as long as he doesn't have +2 in speed, I know that I can sack Coco and go Hawlucha and revenge kill. And then even turn that into a sweep. Hawlucha is very rarely going to be used early on. I want to make sure he's absolutely ready. So with that comes, I have to have support like Mew, which can run literally any set in the game. I have strong breakers like Volcanion. And then it comes down to the defensive core between something like Donphan, Chestnut, and Bronzong. And then I have a pseudo kind of defensive bond between Dragonal and Persian.
Oh, jeez. I thought you were gonna say the quote of the year comes from this guy who is a complete idiot. Low key. Hold on. I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna pull this up. I'm gonna read this.
By it.
This is let's see. Where the hell was it?
You just posted it in the Discord.
I know, but I have to scroll up. I like to pretend that Abomasnow is Tapu Bulu, so it makes it easier to pair with what was it, with Volcanion?
Volcanion.
Yeah, with Volcanion in context.
There's only
It's not. It's got no bulk.
One thing I don't resist between those two, and that's flying. Well, technically dark, but yeah, flying and dark are the only things that can hit both those mons. And even flying doesn't appreciate an Ice Shard from a max attack of Abomasnow, or if it, for whatever reason, isn't going for a flying move, I can kill it with Blizzard or anything like that. They basically complement each other very well on 90% of the moves in the game. Look
It's
at your
something to
Earthquakes.
note.
Look at the top of the scoreboard. Earthquake, Thunderbolt. I've got resists and all that. Abomasnow
Yeah.
rounds off full canyons.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Very
you
nice.
didn't really have that until you got Donphan and Chestnut. You were really weak to Thunderbolt. Because originally you had Alolan Marowak, which is electric immunity with Lightning Rod, but it's not that good. Because it doesn't
Overall,
have the
not that
greatest
good.
defenses anymore.
Yeah, not Spadef.
No.
But
what
yeah,
was your other
I,
mon?
I fully agree. If I had made this change before week 2, I probably would have won my week 2 because I was banking on Halucha being an Earthquake immunity. I didn't bring it that week because there was a Rotom in the matchup. And then I was also banking on Bronzong, which is a Levitator, Cryogonal, which is a Levitator. I don't know if I brought Abomasnow, but Abomasnow is an Earthquake resist. Persian also, being with Fur Coat, not a resist, but probably doesn't get 2 KO.
Oh, that's right. You lost to Excadrill.
I lost.
Oh,
to
it's Scarf
Excadrill,
Excadrill.
which has Mold
That's
Breaker, and I was not prepared for that. And so, if I had a Donphan switch or a Chestnut switch before that week, I'd probably be sitting at an 8-0 right now this week. And that's also assuming my first week. Well, no, I shouldn't have won the Sir Arendite. I'm telling you, I'd be 8-0 right now if I had made a 7-0.
You haven't played your week 8
Yeah, I
yet.
haven't played my 8 week. You know what I mean, though.
I
I
know
would
what
not
you
have a loss right now if I.
I was to say that's a very
if I
bold
built my
move,
first
calling that
team-
you already won.
No, I haven't played my 8th week.
So yeah, that's
If
I
I built
mean-
my first week match the way I build teams now, I wouldn't have lost that match. And if I had made the switch to Donphan or Chestnut, one of them, before my week 2, I wouldn't have lost that. I should have lost Sir Arendite. I still stand by that. There was so much he could prevent for my sweepers that it was really hard to break. But other than that, I wouldn't have lost those matches if I had those changes. So Donphan and Chestnut are the main defense boost to this team because Bronzong cannot do it all. It's a deceptive defensive ability. With max HP and then in one defensive stat,
Uh-oh.
you either got to go with Levitate or Heat Proof. if
Hey,
you wanna,
boss.
like, really round off your defenses.
I'm gonna tell you right now, we're having a little bit of technical kind of delay in between the two of us on Mumble right now. We're using Mumble as a speak. So basically, if he built his team with the kind of defensive options he has now, he probably would have been able to get 7-0. We're gonna have to power through the rest of these
I'm sorry, yeah.
so far because we
when
have
we're talking about the top 4. We gotta go more in depth.
Yeah. The 5th place is going to be the Paris Saint-Germain and RX Fades. He's still up here on the list. He's just had kind of a difficult schedule. And of course, he wasn't able to break through the Kentucky Fried Crawdon. But he still is high up on the rankings just because of the strength of his team and the strength of his schedule so far. He's had probably one of the more difficult schedules so far, but he's been able to win against other kind of higher. He's been able to win against draws, so that's the only reason why he's above him. Landorus, Heatran, and Mega Scizor make for a very threatening offensive core. Tangrowth, Slowbro, regular Slowbro, and then literally any other mon make for an interesting defensive combo, especially with Whimsicott support and Crobat support and Klefki support, really being able to hold back kind of more bulky-ish teams and then being able to clean with the offensive core. Really keep Fades kind of on the upside. I expect him to at least make it through to the second round of playoffs. Then 6th place on these standings is the Blackpool Blastoise. This is, I'm going to bring the same 6 mons every week, the team, even though he's got great options. Once again, dude, you got the Shaman. Shaman's awesome. You got Gallade. Gallade is awesome. You got Ambipom. Ambipom can be a very sneaky pick, especially if you use it in the right situation. Ambipom is great against more offensive teams, especially those that aren't really bulky, with the combination of Fake Out plus Tail Slap or Return or Last Resort, Knockoff U-Turn, whatever. You've got great team possibilities, but you're not really taking advantage of them by bringing mostly the same sets every week. You still haven't used a Z move. I just feel like you're wasting a lot of your team's potential by staying with the same strategy, and eventually people are going to get through and figure out what you're doing and be able to break through your team. So be very careful. Otherwise, you may start losing even further in the standings. I am sorry. Did I skip somebody? No. Okay, cool. I thought I skipped somebody. All right, 7th place is the New England Braviary with the new coach Skalvern. Since he took over, he took a 1-0 loss to Rowe and a 2-0 loss to Drawls last week. But I expect Skalvern to do really well. Rowe, you've done competitive with Skalvern before?
No, when I was chatting up with him, he was telling me of his schedule, how, I can't play today. I'm going to a VGC thing in Australia. And I was like, oh, well, now I'm playing someone who actually knows what they're doing.
Okay.
Assuredly knows what they're doing. And so that put me in fear. And this match was also for me when I played him, I think a week or two ago. It was very, very close. He knows the weakness to my team. Spoiler alert. I have very little fire resists. That, like...
You have a quad resist, and that's about it.
Well, yeah. And even then, there's usually coverage to come with it. Specifically with his team, Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat can take care of Volcanion pretty easily. So it's tough for me to defend against fire, and he knew that. And the game got down to the wire. You should check it out. It's actually a pretty good match against that Rotom Heat. But overall, this team has a lot of really strong hitters, and between Serperior, Celesteela, which is so versatile, Altaria, which also is versatile, Rotom Heat rounds off a lot of weaknesses by being a Levitator user, and also just hitting fire and electric stab. Very rare combo. There's a lot of strength in this team defensively, and of course that Ditto, denying a lot of sweepers. Very good defensive reverse sweeping potential there on this team.
Well, it's funny that you should bring up that he's a VGC player. That actually makes the Murkrow pick look a little more sensible. Murkrow does have a little more utility in a VGC type metagame, but I'm curious to see if he'll be able to bring it in singles, especially because he also has Xatu, which kind of does the same job but a little bit better. Being able to status, prevent hazards, apply extra defensive and offensive pressure with speedy U-turns. So yeah, that's Skalvern this week. Intro to him. I didn't actually know about the VGC background until now. Cool. 8th is going to be the Camden Cryogonals with Coach Gino. This is a very threatening team, made even more threatening now that he's picked up Tapu Bulu. However, at the exact same time, he picked up Sawsbuck, which doesn't make it as threatening anymore. If you want to know exactly what he was thinking, this is what he said in a nutshell. I'm going to pick Sawsbuck because it gets access to Serene Grace Nature Power, which... no, Secret Power, sorry. Serene Grace Secret Power, which has a 60% chance of putting your opponent to sleep. And, surprise, surprise, it bypasses Sleep Claws. So this guy is going for cheese at this point, and I am not happy about it. However, at the same time, his team does have very... Well, it's got a plethora of weaknesses. As you can see, he's got a lot of mons that are the exact same type. Even now, he's got a couple of water types. He's got the bulky Toxapex. He's got the Sweeping Feraligatr now, which was his other pick. He picked up Bulu, Sawsbuck, and Feraligatr last week, I think. But they're very threatening in combination with each other. Tapu Bulu gives Earthquake resistance to Mega Camerupt, but he's still very weak to just a couple of coverage moves. If you bring, for instance, Fire, Water, honestly, Fire and Water and Ice just do so much damage to his team.
That's where that Toxapex comes, though.
Yeah, and then Toxapex is weak to a lot of moves. So Toxapex is really relied upon to bring some of that extra defense to his team. So I like to think of it as he's got a sneaky high average defense stat, but if you take a look, it's not paired with a lot of HP. So some of the mons aren't really as defensive as you would think just looking at the average stats. So you can break through this team, but you have to play it smart. Also, I don't really like that he's got the double Dragon Grounds with Flygon and Zygarde. I think Flygon just gets outclassed every week in this situation, so it's unable to really shine through, which is sad because Flygon's one of my favorite Pokemon, both in competitive and overall. It's got an awesome design, great move pool, really decent stat distribution. It's sneaky good with really good options, both supportively and offensively, especially now that it gets Dragon Dance. So that's the Camden Cryogonals. We're going to move on to Bludgeoners. This is the Rain team, and it looks like people are starting to figure out the secret to cracking the Rain teams with consecutive losses to Amoeba, Battle Dolphin, and myself. Once you take down Rain, Kingdra and Mega Swampert, because he hasn't brought a lot of speed on them, get outpaced by a ton of other mons. So his problems have been keeping Pelipper around long enough in order to make the entire team work.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown, because on paper, this team is pretty much your standard. It's not the same mons, but it's the standard setup you'd have for a Rain team. You gotta have, well, he doesn't technically have a Dragon Resist, but he has almost every.
Yeah, he does. He's got Feeny.
Oh, well, technically yes, Feeny, yeah. My mistake. So actually, that even rounds off his team even better. I haven't actually seen him use Feeny that often, is what I've been noticing.
Nah, he's brought Feeny, but it hasn't really been used that well. He's kind of been late. One of his problems is he's not been really smart about switching around. He's kind of switched in mons when he hasn't needed to, and it's really cost him a lot of momentum and a few matches as a result. Like, especially last week, being very aggressive on the Latios switch in, even though it's his best Raikou counter, but not taking advantage of his weather kind of allowed me to poke holes in his team. So not really being able to take care of his team's greatest strengths has been a weakness so far of Eternalor, especially because his only electric type is Alolan Raichu, which is not really powerful enough to take advantage of the 100% accurate thunders that Rain can provide. And that's just unfortunate. But he's got a decent team otherwise. He's got a sneaky pick in Vivillon, which I kind of like Vivillon, even though it already gets Compound Eyes. Having those 100% accurate Hurricanes are really cool as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the Kentucky Fried Crawdon. This is Stall the team. Kieran Black, Melodic, Umbreon, Amoonguss, Incineroar, Claydol, Mega Aggron, Togekiss, Lucario, the new Rotom-Mow, and Alakazam. Honestly, Rotom-Mow makes this team infinitely better than it was before, because before it used to be a Sigilyph, and Rotom-Mow provides so many other opportunities, especially because you can pair it with Melodic, and Rotom-Mow having the resistance to both electric and grass makes for a scary combination with Melodic, and being able to Volt Switch around to the other defensive members of his team, plus providing defog support, reliable defog support, is just incredible versus this team, because hazards are the kind of the bane of stall teams, which really rely on switching around.
Yeah, and he does have access to Claydol, a very reasonable spinner, but at the end of the day, having that extra support from Rotom-Mow does not hurt whatsoever. And with those big breakers like Kieran Black and Alakazam, as well as Lucario, with so many options, mixed, special, or physical, access to Swords Dance plus Nasty Plot, its only downside being its horrific speed tier.
Yeah.
Lucario makes a really good breaker, which most stall teams will sometimes include. They'll have the 5 standard, switch in for every mon, and then the one guy who is just going to help break those certain mons that stall cannot defeat.
Or a Revenge Killer. So a lot of stall teams, especially for Generation 7, started to run Dugtrio. and it got to the point where Doug Trio got banned for that very reason. So having that kind of revenge option in either the form of Alakazam or Kieran Black is just really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a threatening team, but you can break it down if you take the time. All right, so we're gonna move on. Monobug, really awesome team. I love it to death. It does have a little more depth than you give it credit for, Amoeba. Volcarona, Buzzwole, Galvantula, Venomoth, Araquanid, Volbeat, Megapincer, Scizor, Scolipede, Ariados, and Livani. Love it. I hate Scolipede to death because Scolipede is always my death, but usually my favorite mon is Heatran, so Scolipede beats Heatran 99 times out of 100. So that's why I don't like it.
Protect into Earthquake.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I hate it. But this team is really good, really offensive. Like I said, Sticky Webs are your friend. I said this when we were talking about your match. Sticky Webs are your friend. Bring them, use them, love them, smash them. But you really only have 3 especially offensive guys, and then a lot of physically offensive guys, which you can really use to take advantage of those sticky webs. You have Volcarona, Galvantula, and for a little bit there, Venomoth. Honestly, Venomoth getting outclassed by Volcarona. Ariados and Livani getting outclassed by a combination of Scolipede and Galvantula. But your team does have extra depth, especially with the Buzzwole. If you can figure out how to use it, man, Buzzwole is going to be your friend. Buzzwole plus Sticky Webs. Base 79 speed is not that bad a speed tier once you get them shimmering webs up.
Yeah, one of the things that I talked about during the draft is Bug is a strong monotype team because there's just a lot of really powerful bugs out there. The problem with this team is, one, you've stolen Fortress, a very strong defensive staple for the team.
Hey, I already had that plan. I didn't steal shit.
There's no such thing as a Genesect. Genesect is one of the staples of monotype bug, and that is not allowed in this league. But other than that, Volcarona, Galvantula, Buzzwole, Scizor, Pinsir Mega, all these Pokemon are just really strong and really hard. It's not hard to keep them in check, but if they're left unchecked, they can do a lot of damage with the right matchup.
Yeah, basically you're not allowed to get behind on this team. If you fall behind on this team, you will get burned for it. Yeah. Next up we have, whoops, that's the wrong way. I went the wrong way. I'm bad. We have the Flavortown Flygons moving into 12th place, mainly because major dropping means that the Oakland Adaptability are coachless, and that's why they're 14th. But Flavortown Flygons, Landorus, Ferrothorn, Cobalion, Metagross, Typhlosion, Regigigas, Megalopony, Komodo, Honchkrow, Sharpedo, and Dusclops. Man, you're still bringing the same guys. Same thing. I don't want to talk too much about this team because I've already spent... Alright. Spoiler alert. If you can see, I already faced Shape this week. As you can see, we have a replay. I spent 30 minutes making a team builder for him, and the match takes 4.5 minutes to complete. It was not fun. And a lot of it has to do with you're bringing the exact same team every time. I want to see it do well, but you got to make it happen. And unfortunately, I just feel like his heart isn't really set in this league. And unfortunately, the same thing I can say for the Pacific Log Wailords and Coach Etiquette. Etiquette is a good guy, a really, really great speedrunner, but he doesn't have a lot of competitive Pokemon experience. He's got a team of Tyranitar, Gengar, Haxorus, Gardevoir, Talonflame, Lapras, Mega Heracross, Skarmory, Rhyperior, Shiftry, and Torkoal. And honestly, the number of fucks he gives about this league have been solidified by the fact that he switched his Z Crystal user from was it Gardevoir? No, Cresselia to Lapras. And he dropped
the Cresselia.
Yeah, he dropped Cresselia for Gengar, and then he dropped Chandelure for Rhyperior, which honestly, if you want to go ahead and quick talk about the team for a little bit.
It's kind of tough to say because I actually really liked the Tyranitar Cresselia combo That thing is really tough to beat. Pretty much only Bug can break through it. He does have that extra bug support between Heracross as a fighting type, Skarmory,
Skarmbless Crest, man. Skarmbless Crest.
Like Skarm Crest Tyranitar is such a strong core. I was fearing my matchup against Etiquette since day one, just as I was fearing Fade's matchup. It's just so hard to break. You need to get the right pieces, and I'm not a big fan of the long. I don't want to take so long and say, okay, I'm gonna do this much damage. I'm gonna like calculate exactly where I'm gonna do the damage that allows me to get that one-hit KO on.
You can't see, but I'm raising my hand right now.
Yes, go ahead.
That's me. I'm that guy.
Yeah, it's tough to break Cresselia, and he just forfeited it. But that's not a bad thing. I think he's got a really strong team here. It's weird that he's got the Tyranitar Torkoal combo, but I really hope that whenever he does bring Torkoal, that it supports the team in a way that helps enable Talonflame's Flare Blitz to do more. But like that's really all it does. It's really only helping Shiftry and Talonflame when he has that combo.
And unfortunately, Tyranitar isn't enabling anybody else either.
Exactly. It's supposed to be like this weird defensive mon to support, you know, breaking psychic types, but he's got Gengar, he's got Gardevoir. Talonflame with decent fizz can usually break any psychic type because statistically speaking, outside of like Slowbro, like all psychics have low defense. So I don't know. There's a lot of interesting pieces to this, but it's not making a complete puzzle. It's from every set, and they're not connecting.
Does Lapras get recover?
Jigsaw puzzles here, and they're not connecting.
I forget if Lapras gets recover or not, because making
no,
Lapras.
Not, but
Z-Haze.
My favorite set. It lived. I don't think it lived 2 Thunderbolts from Thundurus Incarnate with Life Orb, but like it lives 2 Grass Knots for sure, with max special attack, max special defense, max HP, Cursed Shell Armor with Rest.
Ooh, okay.
I made that set on Monotype, on one of the Monotype ladders, the challenges, and it was fun. I got up on a bunch of Registeals, and then talked my way into Waterfalls.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, you got a good team, but
2 Grass Knots from Life Orb Incarnate Thundurus.
Well, that's only 115 special attack, right?
Who knows? But that's Life Orb, and it's 120 base power.
It's unstabbed.
Yeah, unstabbed. I'm pretty sure it doesn't live 2 Thunderbolts, but it's
no.
insane.
But I mean, Lapras is sneaky bulky, 130, 80, 95.
Very bulky. Curse is my favorite set on Lapras.
I used to love, back in the days when the power creep wasn't as bad, I loved Dragon Dance Lapras. That used to be a fun set for the lower tiers. Like Dragon Dance, Waterfall, Coverage Move, and Ice Shard. I don't remember if there was another ice move involved or something else, but I remember using that. Lapras is really cool. And I hope you make it work. I hope you get at least one more win this season. But unfortunately, you have a very tough schedule from here on out. I'd argue he's got the toughest schedule from here on out because everybody that he faces is near the top. Not at the top, but everybody else is near to the top. And of course, the last place, just gonna talk about it for a brief moment. Hey, if anybody wants this team, it exists. Oakland Adaptability, Infernape, Sylveon, Snorlax, Doublade, Blastoise, Glaceon, Venusaur, Garchomp, Thundurus Incarnate, Malamar, and Armaldo. Honestly, the only mon I feel like is out of place is that Glaceon. Everything else does really well. It's a very bulky team. Yeah, it's got a revenge option. But
yeah, that Glaceon is out of place. That's a free agent too. That's weird.
But, I don't know why. He dropped Electivire. Electivire would have been a better pick than Glaceon.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. He's got an incredibly interesting core. Didn't he used to have Celesteela? I'm remembering Celesteela was on
He dropped Celesteela, and that's where Thundurus came in.
Yeah, he wanted to get that defog support, but like Venusaur, Garchomp, Celesteela, Sylveon, Snorlax, Doublade, like Blastoise even though it's not Mega Blastoise, that's still like, you know, you've got options defensively in those 5 mons, 5 or 6 mons.
It's a good bulky offense.
And then you can add in Infernape. You can add in, I guess, technically, you could try to make like a motor drive Electivire work. Like, there's options here for a really
Yeah.
strong defensive core and Infernape the Breaker,
Mhm.
but it's just missing out. I'm trying to sell this team to you guys out there that are listening in case you're in the
Plus, if
PSR
you pick it up,
Discord.
you get 2 free agent
Yeah,
drops
you get
picks.
a free agent, and then you get another free agent because he's got 1 left.
Yeah, so
So
we
you
need
can make it
we need
better.
somebody
you
to
can get
take
rid of
it,
that
guys.
Glaceon.
Yes, please get rid
Make
of the
Oakland
Glaceon.
adaptability great again.
Make Oakland.
This is a strong
Make
core.
the Oakland A's great again. Holy shit! I just realized that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for joining me this week, Ro. Hope you all enjoyed it. Man, these seem to be getting longer and longer every time I do them. Maybe it's
Well, that's what happens when you talk about literally every team.
Exactly.
Literally every match.
Um,
But that's the price you pay.
yeah, the price I pay for being in depth. Thank you very much for stopping by. Thank you all for watching. If you stuck around for the entire thing, of course, as you saw, timestamps are in the description if you just skip to the end. So if you want to take a look at something specific, it'll be down there. And I will see you tomorrow for my team builder, and we'll be back next week with another special guest for the weekly recap. See you later, guys.